All right, guys, what's going on? Hope you're doing good. Welcome back to the channel. I'm recording this off the laptop, so sorry for the quality. If the quality sucks, sorry about that. A lot of times it tends to blow it does a whiteout. It's not too happy with the white. But anyway, going to be talking about Sebastian Rogers and the Lore Lodge interview with Seth and Tony last night. And this is just going to be, like all my other videos, just short and to the point. So, what did I think about it? I thought that it was very informative, a very class act interview. Um, it probably went as well as could be expected. Um, Seth answered a lot of questions and pretty much put the ball in Chris and Katie's court, right? So, the ball's in Chris and Katie's court. The other thing that I noticed about the interview with Seth is, in my opinion, with the way Seth and Tony were referring to things, it's my opinion. I think we all know now uh, who's responsible for Sebastian's disappearance, in my opinion. Now, that being said, guys, if Chris and Katie are responsible for Sebastian's disappearance or play a part in it, um, we're going to find out what happened to Sebastian probably 95% through Chris and Katie. Okay. If Sebastian is somewhere where nobody's going to find him, okay, a lot of people have said, Chris has come out and said, ain't nobody going to find Sebastian or something like that. So if Sebastian is somewhere strategically where, nobody's going to find him, then that tells me in order to find Sebastian, we've got to get Chris and Katie to tell us where where he's at, where he is. Nobody else, unless some other people are involved, know where Sebastian is. If this is only involving Chris and Katie, then Chris and Katie hold the key, and only Chris and Katie hold the key to where Sebastian's at, right? And if Chris is making statements saying that, to the effect that nobody is going to find him, that kind of tells me that they know where he's at, maybe been told where he's at, something to that effect. I think investigators need to dig and pressure Chris more about that statement that he made. But at the end of the day, it tells me that we're more than likely not going to find Sebastian unless Chris and Katie give it up, right? Unless Chris and Katie give it up. Now, listen, I always think about, if someone holds the key to where a victim is at or victims, going back to the Chris Watts case, right? Uh, Chris Watts' little girls and Shanann. If Chris Watts is the only one who knew where they were at, right? You could have put pictures of the family on semis from one end of the coast to the other. You could have put Shanann and the kids' pictures on billboards from the east coast to the west coast. You could have put them in Australia, right? You could have put them in Europe, China. It wouldn't have done no good. because the only person who knew where Shanann and those little girls were was one person, Chris Watts. The one person that knew where they were at was Chris Watts. So, this is the trouble and the problem that we're dealing with here is if Chris and Katie know the location of Sebastian Rogers, they and they alone hold the key to bringing him home. Again, if Sebastian is out in the middle of Timbuktu underground, um, at a construction site where nobody's going to find him, they know nobody's going to find him. If he's under, 3 feet of concrete, yeah, I mean, and something would have turned up by now if somebody else had information. We would have found Sebastian by now. Let's just say that. Um, so with Seth and Tony kind of, you know, hitting around like they did in the interview last night with Lore Lodge, um, it makes me feel, in my opinion, that Seth and Katie um, are involved. And I'm going to say probably a strong 95% chance that they know where Sebastian is at. Right. Now, we've had a reward out there for a lot of money. Right. That tells me that, there's very few people that know what happened to Sebastian. Because the more people that know, uh, a lot of times it's easier to solve. Right. So that tells me whatever happened to Sebastian, very few people were involved. Could be, in my opinion, just Chris and Katie, um, based off everybody's, the way everybody's acting. There's a lot of attention on Chris and Katie right now. And let me put that out there, if Chris and Katie are the only people that know the location of Sebastian Rogers, how are we going to get it out of them? How are we going to get where Sebastian Rogers is out of Chris and Katie? I mean, again, you can put billboards up, in my opinion. You can put um, Sebastian's face on tractor trailers and send them up, that are going up and down from one end of the U.S. to the other. But again, is it going to do any good? I mean, would that have done any good in finding Shanann and the kids? Right? Shanann was 2 or 3 feet underground out in the middle of nowhere on private property, a commercial private property, and the kids had been stuffed into an oil tank, right, and their bodies were like disintegrating. I don't think putting up billboards would have helped in that, and just keeping it realistic, guys, just keeping it realistic. Billboards, I do not think would have helped. And again, the only person in that case who held the answers to where Shanann and those little girls was Chris Watts. So, if Chris and Katie Proudfoot hold the key to where Sebastian is at, we need to get the answers or the answer from Chris and Katie Proudfoot. And that may be the only route we have to go. Right? That may be the only route that we have to go. But anyway, guys, that's what I got from the Lore Lodge interview with Seth and Tony last night. Let me know your thoughts and comments on my opinions in this video. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I hit the nail on the head? Do we need to somehow get the answers from Chris? I mean, if they hold the key, I believe that's really the only way we're going to find Sebastian is through Chris and Katie Proudfoot if they hold the key. That's what I truly, honestly believe, and I'm just keeping it realistic, guys. Just keeping it realistic. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and in the comment section below. Appreciate you for tuning in, and y'all stay warm. I'll see you on the next video.